This is Radio Taiwan International.
Welcome to the news on Radio Taiwan International. I'm Tristan Hildebrand, coming to you from Taipei, Taiwan. We begin with a look at today's top stories for Tuesday, December 9th. A magnitude 7.5 earthquake strikes northeastern Japan. Taiwan says its decision to suspend the Chinese social media app Xiaohongshu for 1 year is not a restriction of free speech, and the legislature raises the maximum prison sentence to 7 years for intentionally damaging undersea cables and pipelines. But first, today's top story. A magnitude 7.5 earthquake struck Japan's northeastern region late this Monday, injuring at least 30 and prompting the evacuation of about 90,000 residents. The quake occurred at about 11:15 p.m. at a depth of 54 kilometers. Its epicenter was located roughly 80 kilometers off the Sanriku coast in Aomori Prefecture, the northernmost prefecture of Honshu. The Japan Meteorological Agency initially warned of potential tsunami waves up to 3 meters in height, but as the actual observed maximum wave height was only 70 centimeters, the warnings were downgraded to advisories by Tuesday morning. East Japan Railway Company suspended some train services in the area, and other train services in northern Japan are experiencing delays. Although many households experienced power outages following the quake, Tohoku Electric Power and Hokkaido Electric Power said the nuclear power plants operating in the region reported no abnormalities. Just a few hours before the Sanriku earthquake, Taiwan recorded a 5.7 magnitude trembler about 15.9 kilometers south of Hualien County Hall. It was most strongly felt in Hualien and Nantou counties, but no damage or injuries were reported. The Interior Ministry says its decision to suspend the Chinese social media app Xiaohongshu for 1 year is not a restriction of free speech. Authorities ordered the restriction of the app, known in English as Red Note, last week, citing cybersecurity and fraud concerns. On Monday, Interior Deputy Minister Ma Shiyuan clarified that the suspension or access restriction does not constitute a complete blockade, but rather preemptive roadblocks to make it more difficult for users to connect with the app. Ma stated, "Cute doesn't necessarily mean harmless. Some things are beautiful but toxic." He noted that the platform was involved in 1,706 fraud cases over the past 2 years, involving more than 240 million NT dollars or 7.7 million US dollars. The deputy minister issued a 1-year suspension of the service's DNS after it failed to respond to his letters regarding the cases. Ma said this is in accordance with Article 42 of the Fraud Crime Hazard Prevention Act and is currently the most severe measure the Taiwanese government can take. Should Xiaohongshu fail to improve its platform within the year, Ma says the suspension will continue. Ma explained that saying the government blocked Xiaohongshu is not accurate, and that the DNS suspension means the web page won't be found directly, and the IP address that connects the app to the web page will be shut down. New IP addresses can still connect, albeit at a slower and more unreliable speed. VPN services may circumvent the suspension and allow access to the app, but the government is not seeking to punish users who use them, Ma said. The government has a responsibility to inform the public that using the service carries a very high risk, as it can skim and steal various personal data, including financial account and credit card information, the deputy minister said. Responding to external claims that the suspension amounts to suppressing freedom of speech, Ma said it is an irrelevant issue. He said people may continue expressing their opinions on other social media sites and that the government hopes users will leave what he called an illegal and unsafe platform. To truly understand what suppressing freedom of speech means, Ma added, one can try criticizing Xi Jinping on Xiaohongshu and see what happens. The legislature on Monday passed third readings of the so-called 7 undersea cable laws, raising the maximum prison sentence to 7 years for intentionally damaging undersea water pipelines, natural gas pipelines, or submarine cables. The revisions follow a rise in cable disruptions around Taiwan, including cases involving foreign vessels suspected of disabling or damaging key infrastructure. The cabinet first proposed the amendments in September to harmonize penalties across 7 statutes governing telecommunications, electricity, water, natural gas, meteorology, commercial ports, and shipping. Under the new rules, intentional sabotage of pipelines or submarine cables carries 1 to 7 years in prison and fines of up to 10 million NT dollars, or $320 US. Vessels, equipment, or tools used in such crimes can be confiscated regardless of ownership, a provision aimed at deterring dark ships that often operate with disabled automatic identification systems. Lawmakers also passed a supplementary resolution directing the Interior Ministry to publish mapping data for undersea cables and pipelines and to coordinate public outreach to reduce accidental violations and support enforcement. KMT legislator Lo Chiqiang said the opposition will monitor the government's enforcement capabilities now that clear legal authority is in place, while DPP legislator Rosalia Wu welcomed the revisions and urged bipartisan support for safeguarding critical infrastructure. Wu said,
"We have seen China damage undersea cables and other key infrastructure, not only across the Taiwan Strait, but also in parts of Europe facing new forms of military intrusion. Taiwan must strengthen its legal framework. National security is not partisan. Protecting our Coast Guard and the safety of our submarine cables is essential not only for defense, but also for people's livelihoods."
The Foreign Ministry, MOFA, said Beijing has a long-standing habit of distorting international documents, noting that under the Treaty of San Francisco, Taiwan was not handed over to the People's Republic of China, PRC. Speaking at a regular press briefing on Monday, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Xiaohongshu rejected Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's claim that Taiwan's status has been sevenfold locked by wartime declarations and UN Resolution 2758. Xiao said Beijing selectively cites documents that support its narrative while ignoring legally binding treaties and historical facts that contradict its position. Xiao said the Treaty of San Francisco, signed in 1951 to formally end World War II in the Pacific, replaced political declarations such as the Cairo Declaration and the Potsdam Proclamation. The treaty did not assign sovereignty over Taiwan to the PRC. Xiao stated,
"The treaty did not transfer Taiwan to the People's Republic of China, and the PRC has never governed Taiwan. Therefore, Taiwan is absolutely not part of the PRC, and this position has already been acknowledged by major democratic countries."
Xiao also emphasized Taiwan's democratic development, noting that political liberalization in the 1980s and the island's first direct presidential election in 1996 established a fully elected government that exercises effective control and represents Taiwan internationally. The Lai administration has been connecting with U.S. officials and the wider American public via meetings and popular podcasts to strengthen ties and sway opinions.
These two photos, released by the American Institute in Taiwan, show the president, vice president, and other officials seated with AIT director Raymond Green. The AIT released a statement emphasizing that Taiwan and the United States should continue working together and stressing that America's commitment to Taiwan remains as solid as ever. Just the day before, President Lai Ching-te also received a delegation from the National Committee on American Foreign Policy. Recently, the president and vice president, Xiao Meiqing, have been exchanging ideas not just at the official level, but also through various platforms outside of mainstream American media. The VP recently appeared on The Sean Ryan Show, the fourth most popular U.S. podcast with more than 5 million subscribers on YouTube, as well as Steve Bannon's podcast, War Room. The president, meanwhile, was interviewed on American radio program The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, which attracts nearly 10 million listeners daily. Data shows that these programs attract approximately a third of American voters, or about 23% of the American population, representing a large political audience. Hannah Belinsky for RTI News.
This Tuesday, the New Zealand Defense Force announced that its largest naval vessel encountered a Taiwanese warship while transiting the Taiwan Strait in November and released a photo documenting the encounter. A senior Taiwanese security official noted that Taiwan routinely provides escorts to ships from like-minded countries transiting the Taiwan Strait, knowing that these vessels are frequently harassed or subjected to simulated attacks by the Chinese military. Although New Zealand does not have official diplomatic relations with Taiwan, Taiwan considers it an important like-minded democratic partner, and the two sides maintain trade and economic offices in their respective capitals. Thanks for joining me for the news. I'm Tristan Hildebrand. Stay tuned for another 50 minutes of English language features brought to you by Radio Taiwan International.